Good morning, boys and girls. It's our second week of Advent this Sunday. Can you tell me what Advent means? That's right, it means coming. And what are we doing when someone is coming to visit us? Right, we're waiting. And so who are we waiting for now? That's right, we're waiting to celebrate the birth of Jesus. Last week, we talked about an angel visiting a priest named Zachariah. What did he tell him? Do you remember? Gabriel told Zachariah that he would have a son, even though he was already really old. And his son would be named John. And John would make the way for the Messiah. And then what did Zechariah do? Right, he doubted God. He didn't believe him. And because he didn't believe God, God wouldn't let him talk until John was born. So today we're going to hear about another promised baby. There was a young girl who was engaged to a man named Joseph. Joseph was the great grandson of King David. And one morning, this girl was minding her own business when suddenly a great warrior of light appeared right there in her bedroom. His name was Gabriel, and he was an angel, a special messenger from heaven. When she saw the tall, shining man standing there, Mary was frightened. And Gabriel said, "You don't need to be afraid, Mary. God is very happy with you." Mary looked around to see if perhaps he was talking to someone else. "Mary," Gabriel said, and he laughed with such gladness that Mary's eyes filled with sudden tears. "Mary, you are going to have a baby, a little boy, and you will call him Jesus. He is God's own son. He is the one, the rescuer, and the God who flung planets into space and kept them whirling around and around, the God who made the universe with just one spoken word, the one who could do anything at all, was making himself very small and coming down as a baby." Wait, God was sending a baby to rescue the world? "But that's too wonderful," Mary said, and felt her heart beating hard. "How can it be true?" "Is anything too wonderful for God?" Gabriel asked. So Mary trusted God more than her eyes could see, and she believed. "I am God's servant," she said. "Whatever God says, I will do." Isn't that a great story? So we're going to talk about this for just a minute. First of all, who was Mary? Right, she was a young girl. She was engaged to Joseph, and she's going to be the mother of God's son, Jesus. Does anyone remember the name of the angel that came to speak to Mary? Got it. It's Gabriel. And why was this baby important? Right. He's God's son, and he was going to rescue God's people. Did Mary doubt Gabriel like Zechariah doubted him? No. She believed. And why was God's promise so important? He promised, remember, in the prophecies of the Old Testament that he would send someone to save the world. And how do you think Mary felt after hearing all of this news and that she was going to be the mother of God's Son. I think she felt pretty happy. And I think she was very hopeful. Last week, we lit a candle, and it was the candle of hope, because Zechariah was told that his son would pave the way for the Messiah. But this Sunday, we're going to light a second candle in our Advent wreath, and it's the candle of peace. By lighting these candles, we remember that Christ alone is our hope and our only source of true peace. We remember God's promise to Israel, his people, of a Messiah who would bring everlasting peace when he restores all creation at the end of time. So remember, Advent is not just waiting to celebrate the birth of Christ, but we are also waiting in hope and peace for Jesus's return to earth. Jesus came as the Prince of Peace. And what is more peaceful than a little baby? We remember that Jesus is the source of true and everlasting peace. And he is the one that gives us hope and calms our hearts as we wait until he returns again. I hope you all have a great week this week, the second week of December, and we'll see you next week for another lesson of Advent. Bye.